All right, welcome to part one of our digestion notes. You should have a handout. You got them if you were Group B before we got out of school, or Group A. Hopefully you picked them up. Otherwise, you should print this diagram because you'll need to have to label these main digestive organs, and it's just kind of cool to have. You also need to take the notes as a table. So I'm going to go through this quickly. You will for sure need to pause to write things down, and you need to know everything in yellow. Please listen to my lecture. I'm going to add tricks to help you remember things and also share a couple stories to make this more interesting. Those stories include how I almost died, how my uncle did die, the worst way to die, and I will save your life a couple times along the way. So you can wait to listen for those. So first of all, the digestive system is a closed system, which means whatever nasty thing you put in here will go through your body and come right out the other end. Our body does a really good job of only absorbing down here in our small intestines the nutrients that our body can use, which include some things that we can't use, like extra fat or whatever, even extra vitamins. But it is a closed system, which helps keep us healthy. So you can think of your digestive system as a separate part of your body. We just absorb stuff out of it. Pretty cool. Please pause and write all this down. Remember from freshman year, a physical change, you're just making something smaller. So we'll talk about that. Anyway, chemical changes, we're actually making a new substance. So our goal is to know where the three main macromolecules are digested, and we need to turn them from their big, long polymer into their individual monomers so that our body can use them. The rest of this I will explain along the way, but lots of test questions on this page. So, some fun facts: your digestive system is insanely long and it takes a long time. Men are a little bit faster than women, kids are super fast, dogs even faster than kids. If you want to know how long your digestive system takes, eat some corn. We cannot digest that outer layer of a kernel of corn. There are too many cell walls in that, and even the bacteria in our large intestine can't break it down for us. You will see it come out the other end. So then you can count the hours back from when you ate that corn and see how long your body takes. Okay, mouth is pretty self-explanatory. It does have our first enzyme. So enzymes are compounds that speed up reactions. If we didn't have enzymes in our digestive system, your food would digest, but it would take a long time. And it would take so long that you would end up smelling like a garbage pile. So there are lots of enzymes. They all end in ASE, and they break our food down faster. So we'll talk more specifically about enzymes in the next set of notes. But amylase is our first enzyme. It is made in your salivary glands, which are around here, and it digests carbohydrates. So the way I remember this, girls usually like to talk, so I'm being stereotypical here, and Amy lives in your mouth because she likes to talk. Then you can think of your teacher, because I am a girl and I love donuts. Donuts are carbohydrates. So Miss Shane Bauer, pretend my name is Amy. I am talking all the time in my long lectures, and I like to eat carbs. All right, salivary glands, all you really need to know is they exist. Saliva is super important though. It kind of creates our own personal smell and flavor. So depending on the chemical composition of your saliva, the acidity might be a little bit different than somebody else. Because of your saliva, different types of bacteria might live in your mouth, and that also gives us our wonderful smell. But our saliva in general helps keep us clean. It keeps the plaque off of our teeth. It also moistens our food and makes it easier to digest. And it has that wonderful enzyme amylase in there. So you might have noticed when you go to the dentist, they have to do a lot of picking of plaque off of your teeth. Some people are plaquey, some people aren't. That's also dependent on your personal version of saliva. And that wonderful taste you have in your mouth when you wake up is mostly due to all that bacteria that lives in your mouth that normally gets washed away when we swallow our saliva, but we don't swallow a lot when we're sleeping, so we wake up with bacteria breath. So it really isn't your fault. It's the bacteria living in your mouth. Also, they're feasting on whatever food you left in there. Okay, pharynx, not a lot to know here. It's the part of the throat where both air and food go. So it's at the top part of our throat. After the pharynx, your throat separates into your esophagus, which is where food goes, and your voice box. So this is your voice box right here. Depending on the length and thickness of the fibers in your voice box, that's why we all have a different sounding voice. But voice box is down here in our airway, which makes sense. and your esophagus is here. When you lose your voice, we say we have laryngitis. That's because your voice box is in your larynx. Kind of silly to take cough drops for a lost voice because the cough drops would go down your esophagus, not into your airway. Here's where some stories come. The epiglottis is just a piece of tissue that covers your trachea. So when you swallow, so imagine this guy swallowing, it's going down his tongue. The food not only hits the esophagus to help it shut, but that swallowing action, the epiglottis is attached to the muscle at the base of your tongue. So when your tongue helps push your food back, it also shoves that epiglottis shut, protecting your airway from food going down. So here's a couple stories. I did almost die from choking. I was at a party with some friends at their house. Everybody's laughing, having a good time, right? I'm chewing on a super nasty piece of meat and it just wasn't breaking up. I had to take a breath. So I'm trying to breathe. That piece of meat fell down my throat. Instead of going into my esophagus, it went into my windpipe. I couldn't talk. So the true sign of choking is you can't make any noise because the food gets trapped right here above your voice box. So this is a universal sign for choking. Luckily, a friend of mine noticed that. She gave me the Heimlich. That nasty piece of meat went flying across the room. We all cried. Dinner party's ruined. End of story. Same thing happened to my uncle. The different part here is my uncle was older and a little bit overweight. Also, he was not a blood relative. He was my aunt's second husband, so don't think I'm morbid for sharing this. He also died from choking. He was in a fancy restaurant in Cincinnati, Ohio. This was about 10 years ago. The Heimlich did not work for him because he is an alcoholic, okay? Not only that, he was obviously drinking a lot at this restaurant. His muscles had gotten so relaxed. Alcohol is a depressant. It relaxes our muscles. They couldn't get enough force under his diaphragm to force that food out. So don't overdrink. Really and truly does lots of bad things for us. Also, here's what I'm going to save your life. Don't talk with food in your mouth, okay? When you're talking, you need to breathe, and then when you're eating, you need to swallow, and that's where people tend to choke. Laughing while you're eating is extremely dangerous. I get mad at my kids all the time if they start laughing really hard and then I see them take a bite of food. You cannot swallow and breathe at the same time, and you could risk choking. So, saved your life twice there. Don't be an alcoholic. Don't talk with food in your mouth, and don't laugh also while you're eating. All right, here's a beautiful picture of the top of our esophagus. It is simply a tube that goes from your mouth down to your stomach, and it's muscular. It will squeeze that food down with an action called peristalsis. Peristalsis is so strong, you can actually eat and drink upside down. So, we'll come back to this in a minute. Your stomach, first big organ here, it takes a long time for food to get broken down there. Anywhere from 6 to 8 inches long and can hold anywhere from 2 ounces up to a gallon. So it is a muscle that we can stretch. And I'll show you in a little bit gastric bypass surgery and what stomach sleeves and stomach staples look like. But your feeling of fullness depends on how much volume is here to fill up and then what message goes to your brain to tell you, hey, I'm full or hey, I'm not full. Your stomach does physical and chemical digestion. So we have our second enzyme. It's actually called pepsinase. Remember, enzymes end with ASE. There's lots of pepsinase enzymes, so we just lump them all into pepsin. P for pepsin, P for protein. So your meat and any other proteins get digested at the beginning. Their first digestion is in your stomach. There's also hydrochloric acid in your stomach. This acid is so strong that if you dumped it on the carpet, it would burn a hole in the carpet. So you might be thinking, why doesn't it burn a hole in my stomach? That's because your stomach is lined with mucus. If there weren't a thick mucus lining here, that acid would start to eat a hole in those tissues and you would have an ulcer. So we do get signs that something bad is happening. But you might have noticed when you throw up, there's lots of yellow stuff in that puke. That is the mucus from your stomach coming out. Also, when you throw up, you might have noticed that it burns your throat and it hurts your mouth. That's because all this stomach acid is coming up with that puke. When you have symptoms of heartburn, heartburn is simply stomach acid moving into your esophagus. It feels like it's in your heart, but it's actually that acid eating away at your esophagus muscle lining. So, lots of digestion though in your stomach. The hydrochloric acid will help break food into smaller pieces. The most important part though is it kills any germs. So think about all that nasty stuff that we put in our mouth. You might have disgusting things on your hands, then you go and you stick your finger in your mouth, which I do all the time when I'm making cookies, got to lick that batter, right? Anything nasty that might be on my fingers or in my food, or that I swallow just in the air maybe, will go into your stomach and gets killed by that hydrochloric acid. So hydrochloric acid does a great job keeping us safe. It also helps break down food. Pepsin is made in the lining of the stomach to break down protein. Remember those P's? You do not need to know lipase, but it also, the digestion of fats will start up here too. A couple other things to save your life. Alcohol and lots of medications will get absorbed right into your bloodstream through this stomach wall. A lot of young people, and you should not be drinking alcohol right now for lots of reasons with brain development, but even when you're in your 20s and you decide to drink, a lot of young people, and I'm stereotyping young because they tend to do stupid things because they think they're invincible. Anyway, drink a lot of alcohol really fast, and all that alcohol goes in here, and that alcohol gets absorbed into your bloodstream right away. That will go and start poisoning your organs before you even feel the effects of the alcohol. And that is where alcohol poisoning uh, happens. It's when you drink so much, the alcohol gets in your blood, starts doing terrible things to your brain and to your body organs. You don't know you're drunk, so you keep drinking and you just make the problem worse. So do not drink quickly. Do not drink at all until it's legal because we want your brain to finish growing so that you can actually be a functioning adult. And we'll talk about that more later. But be careful, okay? People that are drinking really fast. I had my babysitter when I was growing up. Her brother, who turned 21, died on his birthday because he was a stupid young person. He drank too fast. He didn't know what was going on. Next thing he knew, alcohol poisoning. His friends didn't know the signs of it, and so they're all gone. So lots and lots of stuff happening in your stomach. Some fun facts. Pepsi Cola, when it was first made, was marketed as a digestive aid because of this enzyme pepsin. There also used to be a pepsin gum that they tried to advertise that it would help you digest. Pepsi Cola does not help you digest your food, but that's why it's called Pepsi. So Pepsi, pepsin digest proteins in your stomach. All right, our liver. Your liver is more part of your circulatory system because it filters your blood, but it also makes bile. Bile is not an enzyme. It is a chemical that goes into the top part of our top part of our small intestine, which is called your duodenum or duodenum, pronounced both ways. Bile digests fats. I remember that. Billy is a little bit fat. He's actually not. My brother's name is Bill. He's insanely skinny. But pretend Billy is fat. Billy digests fats. Billy is also kind of weird. He likes to eat liver. So Billy eats liver. Billy digests fats. Food does not go in your liver. The liver is simply an organ that makes bile. It does other things. You might heard of being in a state of ketosis or your body using glycogen for fuel. All of that has to do with your liver. All right, that gallbladder is right by your liver. It is just a bag that stores bile. So again, food doesn't go in here. It's just a storage tank, and that squirts it through a bile duct into this top part of your small intestines, again called your duodenum. You can live without your gallbladder. If you get gallstones, they'll take out this gallbladder. It simply means you can't eat as much fat for a while, but our bodies are smart, and your liver will adjust, and it will start producing more bile on a daily basis so that you can go back to your normal eating. But initially, after having your gallbladder removed, you do have to watch your diet. We make lots of bile every day, about 4 cups. That's insane. The bile duct is just a tube. The bile duct goes through your pancreas, which makes lots of stuff. It connects to the pancreatic duct, both empty into your duodenum. Your pancreas is super important, and it makes bicarbonate. So talking about homeostasis, remember in your stomach we added that hydrochloric acid. We need to neutralize that acid before your food moves through your small intestine. Your pancreas makes bicarbonate to do that. Your pancreas also makes lots of enzymes, so please pause and write this down. Lots of enzymes to finish all types of macromolecule digestion. Your pancreas also makes insulin. Insulin is secreted directly into your blood, and insulin teaches your cells how to absorb glucose. That is all the time I have. and I might add on to this. Otherwise, part